Not everyone can be a Sufi.
Correct.
That
So
is
what does
very
it? What
clear.
is the journey like, if you can?
It is when you leave everything, you're not interested in any worldly things, and you leave everything, every aspect of your life to the Almighty, and you do things, and you're happy in that state. Most importantly, on the other hand, the letters that I see in Urdu and Hindi. These are the two ones I know. I wish I knew many more. I would love to, but they are my childhood friends. Hindi, Urdu, English, also English because I did English.
Welcome to How Did You, a podcast series where we explore the journey of creative minds from all walks of life. Today, I have a very interesting personality here with me, someone who's lived art all her life. She's a pictorial calligrapher and recipient of Nari Shakti Samman Puraskar by the President of India. Ms. Kamar Dagar, welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. We have all read a lot about you, and I think it's very important to hear the stories of artists from their own perspective, the journey they have been through. So, how did you become a calligrapher?
Well, it's a very difficult question for me to answer, really. I come from a family of classical musicians. Who for the last 20 generations have been carrying on the Dhrupad tradition. And so beautiful influences in my life right from my childhood. But somehow I was more, inclined towards the visual arts and not so much the performing arts. And so I could spend hours on end, creating visuals, designs. I wanted to design everything, and so that kind of a thing. It started like that, and I basically am a very curious person. I want to know many things. I'm interested in many things. So even in within the visual arts realm, there's so many other possibilities, so they excite me. I want to understand them. I love music since it's integral part of my life, and I hear it every day. And I feel all art forms, they're interrelated, because they're in the end they want to reach the same point. They want to feel good and make people feel good about what they see, hear, or whatever form it is. So I think that's really beautiful. And I do believe that everyone should take up some form of art, whatever that may be, whatever they're inclined towards. So this is what I feel. So I think it really started from there for me. And how I started to do pictorial calligraphy is really, I would say, I had a fairly decent handwriting. I was mostly doing posters, for concerts and such things. And I was writing mostly in the Latin English or Hindi maximum. And I did not quite, I think it has to do the many points when I look back. I cannot say only one or two, but many things, like my father, who always, encouraged us to broaden our horizon and see beyond the apparent, what is there in front of you, but there's so much more that is ready to be explored. So I think it was really like that. So he first, for all of us, my siblings and I, so he gave us a book by Hassan Masudi, one of the greatest calligraphers doing Arabic calligraphy. So when I looked at it for the first time, it did not look like a script to me. It looked like beautiful patterns, and I knew what the script looked like, but that was way beyond what I could ever imagine. And what is special about his art is that he may be working in a particular script, which is Arabic, but the interpretation he does, because many people can write well, and it can be like perfect, but at least I am not. I feel there's nothing called perfection, because it keeps changing with your perception, and with time you develop some other aspect, something within your whatever you're doing. And I think what was special, that he would interpret Chinese proverbs, or Latin, others thing, so in Arabic. So that was fascinating for me, that there is this possibility. Otherwise, it can only be just one kind of very
correct. Whatever we have seen
yes.
and done before.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was really nice. And I think without realizing, actually, I didn't realize that I was interested in this.
So what age were you back then when you had this
I
interest?
was still in school. This
Yeah.
was like 7 or 8, something like that. And then I tried to replicate, and it was a disaster. My sister also, she's superly talented. Safia created one work, and that was fantastic, good enough to be framed and put up in our
Okay.
room. Really nice. But it was, but I realized, okay, you can be inspired. So I'm inspired. It's not that I want to replicate everything he does.
Correct. Something about it
It's
really
because
caught. Yes.
yeah, because I'm a different individual, and I have my own influences, own interests, and own abilities, and that's more important, because that's what I have to explore and understand. So I want to be inspired by whatever I see. It's not just confined to calligraphy, but anything from any sphere of life. You can get inspired by things, and by people, and what they do, what they say. And so I think that was one thing. Another thing, that we had a spiritual guide in our family. So he was a master calligrapher himself. He was a Sufi, he was mast. So all of these things were, this combination doesn't happen very often.
Yes, it's a very rare thing.
It's a rare thing, and I was very fortunate that we had him around us. And seeing him at work, watching him, was like meditation itself. Because when you get lost and you don't think of anything else around you, there's no sense of time and space. That's meditation, right? And that's what I used to get into, that thing. It's so fascinating. Plain sheets of papers turning into pieces of art right in front of my eyes, and he would write so quick, so perfect, and just using black ink. This black ink was like magic.
That's the only ink that
He was much later. He would even use sometimes red or green, but that's it. And so that was fascinating. And I was told, in fact, that in the old times, when calligraphers were training, they were not allowed to use any other color other
why
than
is
black.
that?
It's just a
It's a
system.
rule.
It's a rule. Yeah.
Okay.
For many years, you just have to use black.
Oh, that's actually
and
surprising.
then gradually, one color, like probably a brown or whatever,
Yeah, it's
gets
still a darker
integrated.
shade, which is not colorful.
Yes. So it's amazing. So what I do today is completely different from where, how it started. And so then I guess these influences, you don't realize you're imbibing so much. You're like a sponge. And you are just taking these things, the shapes of these letters, they're just magnificent scripts. And so you imbibe so much, you don't realize you can even write that in the first place, because, so because no practice, no nothing. So that was, I guess that played a role in my life. And all the other people who were coming in and out, like they were artists of all kinds, so they're thinking. So even the conversation they would have in the living room, and we are inside, you imbibe so much.
Correct.
So I think mahal or the atmosphere plays a very, very important role in everyone's life.
So how does a mahal setup look like? How is that? How is that for people who don't know what it is like?
For instance, like my father and uncle, they were musicians. Okay, they would have say people coming to learn from them, or other people who would come. They would have conversations about music, about philosophy, about art, about poetry. Poetry was also quite integral, and so this really very rich, atmosphere. And at that time you don't feel it, right? You feel, you doze off, and
Yes,
all
because you
kinds of
have
things.
been seeing it throughout your life, like ever
Yeah,
since your
yeah.
childhood. So yes,
So at that time you don't realize that this is so precious.
yes.
And but later on it dawned on me that this is something so much that I was receiving.
Yeah, you are influenced by all that has the exposure that you had in your life, which is a really beautiful thing, which not many people get it. Also, the guru, your spiritual guru, Baba. So, has he been always there in your life ever since you were a child, or when did he appear in your life? Because he has a great influence in your life.
Yes.
Yes.
From my childhood, and he was amazing because he was so playful. He was not really trying to teach anyone, because he said, "I'm not anyone's, guru. I'm not. I'm just." I mean, he wouldn't say anything, but he was like a friend, literally. He would play carom with us, Ludo, Scrabble, things like that. Also, when very childlike demeanor, and I think that's what he was, and that's probably something that attracted us to him, because he was great.
Yes.
But he could come down to our level.
Yeah, he also had a playful side which we could relate.
Yes. So I think that is what may have influenced me to go towards that side, and take it up in that sense. So calligraphy, since he was doing that, so that became my interest also. And I was writing anyways, and then the visual art part of it. So I think all of these played their
Very
role.
significant role.
Yes.
Speaking about your family, you come from a very celebrated Draupad maestro. It's a musical family, very renowned. Can you say a few things about them and how music has been a very important element in your life as an artist, as a human being, as a person you are today? Yes.
I think music in our farm, of course, it is like I hear it every day. It's integral to who I am, and it's a very special music. It's introspective. It is something that that's when you want to get to know yourself, because arts do that to you. It's something that you get inspired by and influenced by, but eventually it is what you are, and you question yourself, who you are or whatever. So I think when you are in that state, then it's a very peaceful state. So it's very tranquil, and then okay, this is what you are, this is what you like, this is what you probably like less, and things like that. So this can happen only when you have some possibility of so the alap, especially in my family, is very, very special, very beautiful. That leads you to that state. So that is why when I listen to that, of course you like the fast part, which is like the gamaks and all of that. But over a period of time, I realized that the beauty, the layers of notes, they talk to you in a certain way, and they're all different. And that's what I'm trying to integrate also in my calligraphy. People, again, without me realizing, people say, oh, this is like, since you come from that family, there is an influence of that. And I really, I feel happy about it. And then something that I would like to take forward, from there on. So this is not really the time to, and I'm probably not the right person to talk about music in that sense. I'm a listener.
Okay.
I'm a
You
viewer.
don't sing.
I don't sing, but I used to play the tanpur actually. I
Yes,
was an
I
accompanying
found one of
instrument.
your song on Spotify. Yes,
I'm not a singer. I used to play the tanpura
Beautiful.
for my father and uncle, and also for my brother.
Okay.
And I would like to probably give an example of the tanpura. It's a very simple looking instrument, but it has a whole world within itself. And when anyone playing the tanpura, you don't realize it's like a thankless job, because it is supposed to give a mood to the artist to sing. And there, if it's too light or too strong or whatever, so, it is something to be done right.
Okay, it balances
So,
it out.
balanced. So that is one thing that you learn. The this sense of doing it right. Very, very important, and that can only happen if you're aware.
Correct. As you were saying, you should also have a good ear.
Good ear, yes. So this is something very essential. So I think this may also have played its role in what I do.
Okay, Sufism as an ideology has become a very prominent part of your life. So, how have you? What is the journey of Sufism in your life, and who are the key players?
Actually, let me tell you very honestly, very clearly, I'm not a Sufi by any stretch of imagination. My Baba was, and he lived a life like that. And we live our life in a way that we're honest, and we want to be on the right path and all the rest of it. But that is another level. So not everyone can be a Sufi.
Correct.
That
So,
is
what does
very
it? What
clear.
is the journey like? If you can.
It is when you leave everything, you're not interested in any worldly things, and you leave everything, every aspect of your life to the Almighty, and you do things, and you're happy in that state. Most importantly, you're not bothered about,
You are not-
what people say, think of you, or whatever you're doing. You're not bothered, and this is that state. I don't think I'm a Sufi by any stretch of imagination. So, but yeah, I'm fascinated. I would like to imbibe some of these qualities. I don't know how much of it I have imbibed so far, but yes, this is something very beautiful, because imagine, you do something and then you leave it.
Yes, you're not pressurized by the result.
Yes. That is really
Just the process.
that's a process. More interested in the journey than the destination, because there's so many things you will seek along the way.
Correct.
That is much more fascinating for me.
Correct. But even as a child, you might have wanted to see certain things in certain way, right? You might like, this is what I'm doing and I would like to see this result. But apparently, from all the learnings and lessons and people you've traveled with in your journey, you've learned that it's not about seeing the results or controlling the outcome, but the process. So it has a transformative side to it. It's a very meditative side to it. It's a very slow, self-aware side of it, where you lose the control of it, and then enjoying the process. So in today's art also, like, what do you think, what is the advice that you would like to, or suggestion that you would like to give it to the artist, considering this philosophy and art?
See, of course, there are certain things, whatever you may do, there's a dedication, there is you have to dedicate to doing whatever you're doing, and then you have to give it time and practice all of these regular things that are expected of you, whatever you may be doing. It doesn't have to be just arts, but anything in life. So I think those are very essential, and your love for doing what you do, that should not diminish, that should increase with time. That will happen if you don't think of yourself as having reached a certain point and like you are the greatest, whatever, because that's when stagnation starts to come in to your system. Then what is left?
Yeah. if you don't have anything more to explore?
I think it's important to appreciate, enjoy other people's works, other people, what they have to say, what they are trying to say. Be curious about it. Don't have to replicate. Please do not replicate, because you are a different individual, and you have your own experiences, own interests, own abilities. That needs to be explored, rather than, so you see something, you get inspired, but do not replicate. This is very essential for me. So like, I have these influences in my life, so I absolutely have the highest, I revere them, and I have the highest respect, but doesn't mean that I have to do the same thing. And over the period of time, I guess it's got also to do with the fact that, when I was, I think it's the Sufi influence in my life. I would not like to call it really Sufi, because I'm very clear about it. It's not that at all.
But there is
Just
a philosophy.
I'm
yes.
somebody interested in many things, and interested in exploring. So this is what it is. So then over a period of time, I realized that the calligraphy stroke, for instance, this is very very important to me. So it's like one lifetime, one calligraphy stroke. So it's when you see somebody at work, they dip the qalam, or now we use broader things. We do all kinds of jugaad, because we want to do bigger stuff. So you dip that in the ink or color, then you make the stroke. So you see the opaque and the transparent in the same stroke. So you see a clear-cut beginning and a definite end, right? So you see, like we were born with lots of ink, so it was opaque, but we had no sense of what it is, what's happening. And with the passage of time, there's less ink, but greater clarity, right? And then after a certain point, that stroke will end, like we will. So this is what I see in a stroke. And I love exploring this aspect. And then on the other hand, the letters that I see in Urdu and Hindi, these are the two ones I know. I wish I knew many more. I would love to. But they are my childhood friends. Hindi, Urdu, English, also English, because I did English. So they are my childhood friends. So I have conversations with them. And so they're living entities, like you and me. So
Yes,
it may
like-
sound kind of just bizarre to people, but I'm very clear that this is what it is. And so when you have, because you're saying different things, for instance, the language, somebody's writing poetry on, say, love, on philosophy, scientists are using it for some other reason. So there's same language used for biology, for just history, anything, right? So different conversations happening. So I think that is something so beautiful, something magnificent, that language can do that, and this communication can happen like that. So this is what I see letters as. And so when it comes to my own, if I can talk about my own work, so I want things to be not so, but there should be food for thought. It should not be so direct. For instance, even in calligraphy, we look at, say, a Chinese work. We don't know the language. We don't know anything, right? But we get drawn to it because of the way it has been written, because so many years of dedication went into writing what we see, right? So you get drawn by that. So it's the same. So language and all of these are it's not a barrier. It's like you can go straight into, you can get inspired by that. So I feel that way it's a very, very, very wonderful way of expression, and also receiving it at the same time. This is what I feel. And sometimes when I'm writing, for instance, if I'm writing, I want to I interpret. Actually, I don't write. I mean, it's not just plain writing in the sense. I want to understand my language in my own way, with my own experiences. For instance, if it is buzurg, buzurg is the elder. Huh? Uh, so what you will see in the picture is one big banyan tree, because I feel an elder and an ancestor and a tree, they have so much in common. They're the same, you know. So you will. That's how I will explore in a way that you will see a tree, but I've actually written buzurg.
Right. It's
Or-
connecting
Yes.
the dots, yes.
And if it is, say, Anjam, which is the culmination, the final result, so what you will see in the work will be a full bloom of a flower. So for me, that is Anjam, and you know, the fruit of what. This is the kind of thing I like to do and explain. And of course, I've done on music also.
Yes. So you're a painter. So little bit of painting. You have a lot of interest. So it's like it's not just one thing. It's a lot of things that is inspiring your art. So why did you want to do something in pictorial calligraphy? What is fascinating about pictorial or visual art?
I have no clue. I wish I had an answer to this. I have no way. But you know, another very important influence, a dear friend, actually, is a Moroccan, Mohammed Elbas. He's a calligrapher. I think he. So when you look at his Arabic calligraphy, you feel they're dancing letters. He does all kinds of things, and he really pushed me into, you know, he said, no, you should try out different things. Why should it be confined to just what you see? There are different khats, for instance, in different styles or different fonts, I would say, you know, when you see on computers, you know, we easily choose one. Okay, this one I like, this one I don't like. So it holds true also in the old times, you know, that there was Arabic calligraphy, so they're called khat, the styles. So they developed over a period of time. They're very different one from the other. And it's fascinating. It could have still be only one in the world, but there were so many, because there were so many different people interested and talented and ready to work towards, you know, creating those. And that is happening even today. You see the computers, everything you see. So it's fascinating that this journey has continued, but in a different way. So I guess so. He's the one who pushed me into. So he said, why it has to be just this style or that style? It can be. It's like free, because if you are you're exploring the shapes of the letters according to how they fit into your scheme of things. If you're, you know, selecting a work and interpreting, so it's not just a linear writing.
Right.
It
can be anything.
Yeah. So that is why.
Gave you a different perspective shift to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For a layman like me who don't, we appreciate art, but we might not know the differences between art forms. So what is the difference between a normal calligraphy and what you specialize in, that is pictorial calligraphy?
See, like normal, everything is normal, right? Or abnormal. Either way you can look at it. So, linear calligraphy, which is like very distinct, very clear for people to understand, you know, and like beautifully written. So the definition is the art of beautiful writing. Calligraphy is the art of beautiful writing. So, which is visually very attractive. It's perfect. It's clear. All of that. And so that you can call, as very simply put, as calligraphy, yeah? Which is linear mostly. But like all the best examples are all the scriptures, religious scriptures. You see, pick up any. When you look at that, they are the best examples of high class calligraphy, linear.
Yes.
Right. But pictorial calligraphy can be the picture form of the language that we speak and write and, you know, share. So what I do is little more different also, because I'm using two scripts, Hindi and Urdu. and I am, according to how they fit into my work, I pick and choose. And when I start a work, even I don't know what I will use, when and how. So it is very interesting, but maybe difficult for those who are trying to look for, these letters,
Yes.
whatever. So they exist. So they, like when I said, there should be food for thought. So it's the gist, it's the meaning of that particular word that I'm always trying. Trying to explore and put that on paper. So what I'm imagining inside, I'm trying to translate and whatever, put that on paper, transfer. So this is what it is.
It is, okay. Also, you have your trust, right? Calligraphy trust, Kalamkari with Q. So what was the need of, what do you think, why did you think that you required a trust? And
like I said, before, I'm curious. So I was doing this stuff myself. I was enjoying. And later on, the more I got involved, I realized that so many calligraphers, calligraphy is such a beautiful art form, and you see it on the monuments, you see in very major buildings and all that, and it's magnificent. And again, another important aspect is that, coming together of two different skills, calligraphy and then, carved on stones or wood. This was, coming together. I think that's really great. And that happened centuries ago, right? So there should always be this process of, trying to reinvent yourself and see what is possible further, like that. So, but not so much computers, I would say. I mean, I use computers and all the rest of it, but it should not be at the cost of the human element. Human element is very essential, because that's how we managed to do so many things. Imagine everything getting done through computers. It's not my idea, at least, of great life. I think human element must be there. So that needs to be explored. Have I answered my question?
Yes. So now I'll just quickly wind this up by asking, if you can tell in one or two words, how did you become who you are today?
Like I told you before, it's got nothing to do with me. It's the influence around.
It's your exposure.
The exposure. So I feel fortunate that I had that kind of life where I could explore myself through this medium. And I was pretty okay with, writing. So that was, moderately talented. And so I guess that made me do what I do today. So much less to do with who I am, but the influences.
And who you're becoming.
Who I'm still in the process. I don't know what I will become. And so, but it is nice, that I'm interested in actually so many things. I guess that also helped me. I'm interested in poetry, in anything, just about anything and everything. So that keeps me going. That keeps me interested. I guess.
So it's basically your curiosity that has been a core value till now. May this curiosity always remain the same, because it's very inspiring that you always are curious about this and that, and you go behind it without looking forward. So,
for instance, suppose I created something and I feel that, oh wow, I'm great. I've done something great, and you're like so engrossed that you lose out on so many more precious things around you, and so that's not a good thing, right? So.
Thank you.